Hi, this is Ameila and Elizabeth from Twin Musics. We are here with Chips from Enuff Z Nuff. Thank you for having this interview with us today. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good here in Chicago. I gotta be honest with you. I was blown away. For all these years, Enuff Z Nuff has been touring over in Japan and going through the Far East and the Pacific Rim. We never stop in Australia. So I remember I was telling my wife about it. I said, I'm going to Australia. She goes, how long is the flight? I said, no, it's only about 20 hours. She's like, oh, really? And that's too much. And I go, yeah, it sounds like it. And then when I came back, I told her, you got to come one day. It's fantastic. It's worth the 20 hours of flying.
Well, it's worth the 12 hours of flying to America too. So
we were out there. I think there was Joe Satriani was out there, if I'm not mistaken. We had the Pixies were touring out there, Whitesnake, Judas Priest. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Scorpions, Elton John. A lot of good musicians, a lot of wonderful bands playing Australia at the same time. With why Enuff Z Nuff was out there with, I think it was Kip Winger, and there was another band out there that was from Norway that was really good too. Finland, actually. I can't think of the name of the band. They were terrific. There's a lot of great musicians out there and really good people. I can't wait to go back again, although who knows when that's going to be, because it's really difficult traveling right now around the country. That's why all the tours are at a standstill until further notice, which I really believe it'll be in the middle of next year when everything starts opening up again, where you start seeing all the rock concerts and racetracks will open up. And you'll have movie theaters as well, where you can go see a film. And just the world will open up a lot more than it is right now, because we'll probably be closer to finding a solution on how to live with this virus.
And you also had Hard Rock Hell Festival scheduled for this year, so has that been postponed to next year, and all your European dates as well?
Yeah, that really was disheartening, to be honest with you. My agent, artist worldwide, just told us that not only is that tour postponed, but we won't be able to make up those dates until November of 2021. And there was quite a few shows that Enuff Z Nuff was going to play. I think they had like a dozen shows on this last run, along with the Faster Pussycat Enuff Z Nuff tour that was postponed as well. Probably lost about 80 shows just for those little two small tours. Oh. So that's kind of upsetting, but they're not canceled. It's postponed till further notice. Yeah. Some of the dates are being rescheduled right now for in the United States. Everything starts in May of 2021 for a lot of the bands. And I know we're out with Faster Pussycat in the quarantine tour, which a lot of people are going to anticipate being one of the better deals out there, because we're not playing sheds or arenas. We're playing small venues, and people are going to want to go out and be close to the bands and play and see these great shows where you can be right up in front without having to worry about anything, because the venues are going to only be half capacity as it is. So there's a lot of changes that are happening next year, as well as over in Europe too, on that Hard Rock Hell tour. It's rescheduled for November. Now they're adding on to it, so it'll not only be the UK, but if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be Norway and Germany, Paris, and perhaps going over to Spain as well, and then Australia. So I know the promoters have called, talking about that. Everybody's rescheduling stuff. We're all missing playing, but we have to go by the guidelines right now, and basically the percentages are telling us that maybe it's better just to hold up a little bit, and everything will open up next year, because you're going to get a lot of great new music. All the bands right now around the country, all that we're doing is recording. LA Guns, AC/DC, Cheap Trick, they're all in the studio making another record right now. So that's pretty exciting. It's got to be for you two sisters.
It is. We have a lot of new content coming through. And you also did the Monsters of Rock live stream, so can you tell us more about that?
That's the new wave of the future, girls. bands get together and they go, we're going to live stream a show and play for 20, 30,000 people that most of them are going to get on their computers and watch the shows because it's much more, it's easier accessible for them. And they don't have to get up and go out and wear a mask and have to deal with all the crowds. So it's a simple way to make to leave an impression with the fans out there, letting everybody know that we're still alive. And I seen Foo Fighters and Metallica doing it, and I thought maybe Enuff Z Nuff should do one as well. And Larry Moran, who runs the Masters of Rock, reached out to my agent and said I'd love to have Enuff Z Nuff on. So it was really difficult because my band is very respectful to what's happening right now out in the country, and we've turned down tons of shows. We only take the right ones where it's really comfortable and people are respectful to where we're at with the social distancing. So we got this call from Larry. He says, no one's going to even be there.
Yeah.
5 or 6 guys in the crew, and you guys will go up there and play an hour set. And we said, hey, we'd love to do it. And the fans were terrific. Everybody donated money. We didn't charge anything. It was free. But fans went out and they bought the new record, Brainwash Generation, or Greatest Hits record, or they wanted an autograph, or they wanted a Zoom call with the band. It was really nice. It turned out to be okay. The fans, everybody's seen us playing. They know that what we're doing, we have a brand new record out, and that we can't go out and play tours right now, but we can do the best we can by doing a live streaming show to make it accessible for the rock and roll fans out there. I love it. I think it's a nice thing to do, although it's not something you're going to do every single day. I'm looking right now at the groups that are out there touring, and like Metallica or Steel Panther, and they're all playing little movie theaters and stuff. And maybe that's the way of the future until further notice. But rock concerts will start up sometime next year, I'm sure of it.
And on your new album, Brainwash Generation, you worked with Mike Portney and Ace Frehley, so how was that?
Yeah, it's always nice to call your rock star friends to come down playing your records. I know Ace did the best he could. He'll be on the next record for sure. But I did a nice Ace Frehley impersonation on Drugland Weekend to the best of my abilities here in Chicago. Mike Portnoy's, my cousin on my wife's side of the family, and he was kind enough to come down and play a song. He's a big Beatle fan. He loves Cheap Trick, loves Jellyfish, loves that power pop stuff that we all grew up to embrace. And he was kind enough to pull out his yellow mustard Ringo Starr drum kit and play on a song called It's All in Vain. Could have got him on something more progressive maybe. I didn't want that. I wanted the real Mike Portnoy, because no one understands that he's a six-trick pony and he doesn't just listen to progressive rock music. He loves power pop. Yeah, he loves heavy metal along with rock bands, and then reggae, doesn't matter, blues. The guy does it all. So to get him to play on the record was quite loving, and just goes to show that it's nice to keep your friends close to you, keep your enemies closer. Well, I tell you right now, I'm glad he's my friend and my family, because I certainly would, to not have him on the record would be detrimental, because he helped elevate the perception of the band. By him getting on the record, it showed a lot of people that Enuff Z Nuff is not just a one-trick pony band. Same thing with Dax Nielsen from Cheap Trick. He was kind enough to come on down playing a couple songs, because when the shutdown was happening here in Chicago, it was difficult to get guys to fly in here and finish up their parts on the record. So Dax just came in there and he helped out my guy Dan Hill by performing he's on 4 or 5 songs in the album. So I got Cheap Trick on the record. I got one of the guys from Dream Theater, Sons of Apollo, Winery Dogs on the record as well. And then Steve Ramone, Joey Ramone's nephew, he's on the record playing guitar on a couple of tracks. Donnie V's on there singing on a song with me, my little brother from the early days. So it's come full circle, and time heals all wounds, my grandfather used to say. And this time is no exception. Donnie and I back together doing some stuff, which is nice. And in the next record, I got some plans as well to bring in a couple other accomplished musicians who have been good friends of mine and know how to tell a good story when it comes to playing guitar or singing.
So did they help you write the songs as well, and do you think they changed the style of your music slightly?
I don't know if they changed it. They definitely wrote their own parts, but the template of the songs were already written, and they always are. We're living in a day and age right now where there's plenty of things to write about. So the songs were pretty much intact, but Mike Portnoy and Dax Nielsen, they brought their own little timbre to the party, and I think that their contribution was definitely helped elevate the song. I wouldn't say they were the writers of the song, but then again, they had a piece of it. So yeah, perhaps you could say they were part writers on it, because I didn't tell them what to play. You don't tell Mike Portnoy what to do. You just let him do it. Same thing with Dax Nielsen. Those are very accomplished musicians. But the template of the songs were written for a while ago, and I just needed to put music to tape, and that's what I did.
And you also used to play in Adler's Appetite, so can you tell us how this came about?
Yeah, well, most people didn't know I used to live with Steven Adler. I got together with him. His brother introduced us back in 2004 in Las Vegas. And Steve, I said, terrific. So I moved into his house with him and his wife, Carolina. And living in Studio City, California with Steven Adler. How cool is that?
That's
He was
cool.
so nice to me. We started out together before he was married in Las Vegas. I was living in his apartment out there. He lived in a gated community. He has a little trick drum set put up in the kitchen, and I'd make soup and sandwiches every day. And it was just a wonderful little time right there, and nobody bothers because it was a gated community. And he was in a good place at that time. The hardest job for us would be cleaning out his closet because he had so many leather jackets and clothes and shoes. Otherwise, it was like living in paradise. A beautiful pool in the backyard, and then we went on the road and started working a little bit. And then he got married, or his wife came, Carolina. I think she was maybe visiting family when I was out there, and we started putting together some tours, going around the country. We get in a bus. We traveled around. It was Stephen from Guns N' Roses, myself, along with Michael Thomas from Faster Pussycat at the time, and Alex Grassi, who plays guitar in Quiet Riot, and the singer was Patrick Stone from Butterside. The first singer split. He was terrific. So we went through a couple of different singers until we settled with Stone, and then we went on the road and just traveled around the country in a beautiful bus. We didn't make any money on those tours because we found ourselves always putting out our it was an exorbitant bill, to say the least. We had tons of people behind us that was wanting to help us, but we just weren't, it wasn't labeled, put together where there was some sabi there. It was just basically the inmates that run the asylum, and we'd go into debt on those tours because, especially in England, to have a tour bus would be $1,200 a day. We'd be out for 30 shows, 40-something days would cost us $100,000. And so those tours were always difficult financially. But man, the fans were so fantastic. They come out every single night. They just were starving for rock and roll out there, and they all wanted to hear that iconic, which is Appetite for Destruction. And we gave it to them every night. And we'd follow around. All the rock star buddies would be out there on the road as well. And it was just a lot of fun. They all loved Steven to death. He's just a really wonderful guy. But I think the touring took a lot out of him because it wasn't like the old days where when he was at Guns N' Roses, they were flying in Learjets or going in, and they had their own tour buses, and it was 4 shows a week. Here we were playing 7 days a week. It was quite challenging, but everybody lived up to it. We loved it. It was a nice little run until his brother wrecked it, and then that was it. But we made an EP that's out, and it's really good. It's called, I think it's Star Dog was the name of the EP. It was one of the songs on the record, and it was produced by Fred Curry from Cinderella. He did a bunch of stuff along with Anthony Fox, who does a lot of the engineering for Steven Tyler. So we surrounded ourselves with really good people, just wonderful musicians and producers. But we just never could make the fourth quarter when it came to putting the record together. For some reason, we just weren't focused enough. And we had plenty of songs at that time. What I will say is the big reason that we were all there was because it was one band. It was Guns N' Roses, and it was Appetite for Destruction. Or otherwise, we wouldn't have went out there and took a chance and took that challenge on playing those songs. And good memories for me. I still keep in contact with him a lot. And I know that he is talking about touring next year as well, and maybe he'll put another record out. I always wish nothing but the best for him. He's family with me.
And I understand there's a funny story about Adela in Mexico. Can you tell us it?
There's too many funny stories. You must be talking to the manager from LA Guns, because at the time we were out there, Tracy was playing guitar with us, and we all traveled to Mexico, and it was a challenge just getting on the plane. The cops all wanted autographs from Steven. They wanted to know what year he played on the Super Bowl. I think it was '93, and he was already out of the band. So he does a little bit questionable behavior on the cops' part instead of just letting the guy get on the plane and sit down and relax. Plus, at that time, he found himself with a propensity to get in trouble when it comes to alcohol. So we were trying to keep him away from all that bad stuff. And as soon as we got to Mexico, everybody was just giving him everything until we got on stage and he was out of his mind. And I don't know what he had, what he was drinking, what he was going through. But after 2 songs, he threw the drumsticks up in the air and walked off the stage, leaving Steven, all his bandmates, myself, along with Tracy Guns and a few other cast of characters on stage, not knowing what the next song was going to be. We had no drummer. And one of the girls from one of those bands, I can't think of what they were called, it was a rock band. They had a TV show. They all wore tattoos and stuff. She came on stage and saved the show and played drums the rest of the night. And after the show, they grabbed me and they said, the paramedics, and said, "Hey, Steven needs you." And I went to the back where he was laying on the couch. And he goes, Chippy, I just don't feel good. I'm so sorry. I go, "Bro, it's okay. I just want you to be all right, bro." He goes, "You got a joint?" Unbelievable. They got the oxygen mask out there and everything right in front of it. All the paramedics and the fire department. He's asking me for pot. And we're in the middle of Mexico. No, I'm not going to have anything. Of course I don't. And he never finished the show, but he stayed up all night. Suicide Girls, that's who the band was. I know my wife told me about them a long time ago. It's a bunch of chicks, the musicians, and some of them are writers, and a lot of them play guitar, play drums. They had a band for a while, and they just happened to be in Mexico. I were there. By the way, they were beautiful girls. I love them. The chick drummer that came up, she was really cool. She had tons of tattoos, and she could actually play her ass off. She saved the show for us, and I know Steven and I hung out with her until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning out in Mexico. It was pretty exciting, though. I remember we before we went to bed, it was like maybe 6 o'clock and 6 a.m. and they opened up the restaurant there, and we had a smorgasbord, which is in Polish. It's a huge, massive meal for 10 people, and then 3 or 4 of us ate. And every kind of Mexican food you could think of. It was just absolutely incredible. And then we jumped on a plane and went back and went over to South America and did 4 shows out there in Brazil. I think we played in Peru and Argentina and one other place. And every single night, the fans just went crazy. They were rocking the boat. They were just, every time we got after a show, we tried to get in the van, they would attack us, where we couldn't leave the venue for at least a half an hour after we got in our vehicle. The people would we have to run them all down. There'd be 1,000 people just surrounding the van, screaming and chanting Steven's name and pushing the van over. And it was great. And then at the middle, I remember going back to the hotel after one of the last shows in Argentina, and the promoter said, there's at least 1,000 people outside. They're piled all around the place. And I talked to the promoter and the agent there and the manager of the hotel into letting the people in 3 at a time. And we were up until I'm serious. 4, 5, 6 the next morning, just signing autographs and hanging out with the fans. What a wonderful country. Love Mexico.
That's nice.
Love anywhere in South America. Those people they really embrace their favorite bands, and they just know how to treat you.
Yeah.
And that's so nice of you that you hung out with them. That's so cool.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of the bands do that. I'm not the only guy that does that. I hear stories all the time with Slash and, Alice Cooper and guys in Cheap Trick and Aerosmith. And they hang with the fans too. The fans are our friends. So it's nice to go out there. You don't know how many times you're going to have the opportunity to play in that country again. So you want to meet as many people as you can and leave an indelible mark. So maybe if you get a chance and you're blessed enough to go back to that country, they'll come see you. I got some good friends all around the world, and I owe a lot of it to Steven.
That's awesome. And can you tell us more about your radio show on Dash?
Sure, I have a radio show. I'm on 6 days a week on Dash Radio, the Dash Network. You just go dashradio.com and download the app. It's no different than Sirius XM. It's satellite radio at its finest. We have 83 networks with our station Dash, and I think that as of last week, the Monsters of Rock was one of the number one stations over at Dash. We have probably 25 million subscribers, and the show focuses on the finest hard rock and heavy metal imaginable, 24/7, 365 days of the year. And it's not just about me. We got Rudy Sarzo from Whitesnake and Ozzy Osbourne and the Guess Who. He's got his own program on there. Orianthi used to play with Alice Cooper and Michael Jackson. She has her own show as well. Claudia, Michelle, a cast of wonderful people that do a great job over at Dash. And then on some of the other shows, Kylie Jenner has her own show, Snoop Dogg, Be Real from Cypress Hill, and the list goes on and on. It's really a potpourri of really talented cats. I'm very lucky to be in the same ocean swimming with these guys because they're just really good at their craft. And my show does well because of not me. It has to do with just picking the right songs. I got a great program director, and I focus on nothing but playing good music the whole time with a little bit of talking. And I think the fans like that. It's commercial free, and that trips their trigger.
Signature question. So if you could have any band perform one of your songs, which band would it be? Which song would it be? And would it be in your style or their style?
Oh, good question. I think if I could pick any band to do our songs, I would probably go with Ed Sheeran, because that guy still sells a lot of records. He's a solo artist, so you don't have to pay a lot of guys. I throw him in as a writer on the song, so he gets publishing on it. And I would have him do something maybe like Wheels off Enuff Z Nuff 7, or Downhill, or maybe perhaps go back in the early days and do Black Rain off the Animals and Human Intelligence, or For Now off the first album. I let him pick whatever song he wants to. Listen, I'm not prejudiced in any way, especially when it comes to artists wanting to do our songs.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a lot of more bands do it. Right now, if I look back in the past, the Wild Hearts have covered Enuff Z Nuff. Paul Gilbert from Mr. Big covered a couple of our songs. I think that was real nice. Swirl 360, they did a few Enuff Z Nuff songs. And there's other artists too as well. Wild Hearts, let's not forget about Ginger. He covered Time to Let You Go. He did a great job on that. When it comes to re-recording somebody else's music, I think that's the wave of the future. A lot of bands do it. A lot of hip-hop guys are doing it as well. And the rap cats, they like to go out there and grab songs from the past or samples of sounds from different things that were successful, 20 years ago. I remember Clive Davis saying to me, Chip, if it's 20 years old, it's new again. And that was 20 years ago he said that. Yeah. So I think that still stands to this day. If you pick out something and it's old, you can make it new again. I think that's great. And I don't hold anybody back that wants to record any Enuff Z Nuff song, whether you're a big star or an up-and-coming artist. I think you're smart to want to do one of our songs because perhaps it'll give you a chance to get a foothold, because we might not be as big as Aerosmith, but our songs are as good.
And it's interesting that you said Ed Sheeran, because on the Australian tour, I know he teamed up with Elton John and they did a song together quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Elton John, I've always loved him. I'm a big fan of the way he carries himself, and he talks about the newer artists that are out there today. He loves Greta Van Fleet as well, and I know he's a Ed Sheeran fan. I remember seeing that footage on YouTube with those guys performing together in Australia. I think it's great. That's what it's all about. Kindness costs nothing, but with it you can give so much. And then when you see these musicians getting together and sharing the stage, that leaves it's an indelible mark that none of us will ever forget. You'll be talking about that until you're telling your kids when you're an old woman or an old man how excited you were that you seen so and so on stage with playing together. It's real special, and I love when I see bands do that. The hip hop guys do it all the time. I love to see when the rock guys get up on stage and share the microphone. I loved when the Foo Fighters brought the Struts up recently and let them sing a couple songs. That's what it's all about. I've sat in with tons of bands, Bad Company, Cheap Trick. You name the bands, I've been up there playing with those cats. I think it's quite an honor, and it's something that the fans remember forever.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And last question, is there anything else you would like to say to your fans?
Check out our new record. It's called Brainwashed Generation, aptly written, I would think, in this day and age, of course. And I think the title fits perfectly for what's happening right now without being political. A nice, solid 10-song record. You can get it anywhere, Apple, iTunes, Rhapsody, Google. You can find it, of course, let's not forget about Spotify. My TV show, or I should say radio show, is called The Monster Rock. It's on the Dash Radio Network. You download the app. It's free. If you want to see anything about Enuff Z Nuff that you'd like to know about in the future, it's really easy to find us. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook as my name. Instagram, @ChipsEnuff. Twitter, @ChipsEnuff. Or you can go to EnuffZnuff.com, EnuffZnuff.com. Find out about tour dates and any exciting things that are coming up in the future. By the way, we have a show in a couple of weeks. We're going to Kansas City. We actually have one gig that we're doing. Evidently, in some of the red states here in North America, you can play a couple of shows as long as there's social distancing, and it's outdoors. So I got a real nice, excited to be a show in Kansas City called The Scene, and that'll be on October 24th. That's the only North American date that we have for right now. But next year, plenty of dates. Be making up all these tours. And Rock Rage Radio, I appreciate you guys taking time out to want to talk to us about what's going on in the world. I send nothing but love and prayers out to everybody out there. We all survive this together. A shout out to our military, our police, of course, our first responders, doctors, the local people working down the streets that provide for us worldwide. Let's say prayers for every single one of them out there. If that's politically incorrect, then I'm going to be wrong, okay? Because I love people, and I believe that we have a resilient country, and we stick together, and that's how we survive. Thanks for your time, little girls. I really appreciate you talking to me. And we're starving for rock and roll now, so next year will be a good time for all of us to get together again for round 2. Out there, that's all. That's the most important thing.
You too.
Let's get through this. Let's get through this together.
Yeah, let's get through it together. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you to Rock Rage Radio. And girls, be safe, okay?
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much.